What's going on, everybody? DeMarco Crum here with the Strength with Purpose show. I am here to help you become your strongest self and have a little bit of fun along the way. All right, mastering the pull-up and really crushing the reps. Now, hopefully you have seen the first video, my 5-step process on how to get your first pull-up. If you have not, I highly recommend that you watch that one first, so you have a good solid foundation. You've trained, you've learned the why, the how of the pull-up, and particularly what positions to get into and what to focus on so that you can have success and build strength, build longevity, and all that. So I highly suggest that you pause this video and watch that one first and make sure you have that foundation before you get into it. Now, so the story I want to share with you today is the amazing results that I got doing the fighter pull-up plan created by Mr. Pavel Tsatsouline, the founder and chairman of Strong First Incorporated, the School of Strength. Now, I'm typically not a fan of 30-day challenges because typically what happens is you do the challenge, you post the videos on Instagram, and then it's a big thing like, okay, cool, I did the challenge, and then what's next after that? And then typically nothing happens. People fall off. We see it all the time with exercise, fitness challenges, with diet, crash diets, etc. But what makes this program different, in my opinion, is that this puts you in a position to train more and to progress yourself past this. So in the article, it actually talks about that. It says what you can do afterwards, which is, I think, what makes it different than most 30-day, like Squattober, and a lot of these other kind of challenges that I'm not gonna lie, I think are a bit silly. But again, if people are having fun and they're being safe and they're getting some kind of results, I'm certainly not going to rain on their parade. So don't want to try to come from it without being judgmental, obviously. But again, what I think makes this program so wonderful is that it again, you're going to train the movement, you're going to get better, and then there's a next step for you, which I think is really cool. So with the fighter pull-up plan, the way the program breaks down is you do 5 days straight of pull-ups, and your rep number count is calculated based off of what your rep max is. And the really neat thing about this program is it is scalable all the way down to someone that can do 1 pull-up all the way up to somebody that can do 25 reps. So it's scalable up and down. Of course, the folks that can train more, that can perform more reps, are going to have higher numbers. Now, what's interesting is the starter program, quote unquote, the beginner, someone that's doing like anywhere from 1 to 3 repetitions, they're going to do a lot of what we would consider low rep sets. Now, for that individual person, it's not necessarily low reps because it's very taxing and challenging for them at their ability. On the flip side, Mr. or Mrs. 25 rep pull-up master, they're going to hit that high rep set first, and then there's going to be a quicker drop off because it becomes very, very challenging to try to repeat that effort. And I actually ran into that myself near the end of the program, which was actually the perfect timing. So the breakdown is you're going to do 5 days of the reps, and it's very simple. Like for example, my first day was 12, 10, 8, 6, 4. And then what happens is you do those same 5 sets every day. You simply add a rep on the low number and then work your way up the tree or up the pyramid, if you will. So we go 12, 10, 8, 6, 4, 12, 10, 8, 6, 5, 12, 10, 8, 7, 5, and you can see how that progression builds. We're adding a rep a day, and we're adding 5 reps a week. So, or it's more than that, but you get the idea. So my math is not always the best. So you're very, very slowly accumulating more and more volume every single week. The 6th day is for rest, and then you go into that day 8, starting that next week cycle. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't follow this program religiously as far as the rest. I actually took more rest when I needed to. I had certain periods where I was just feeling a little bit beat up, and I just needed to rest more. So I took extra days here and there. So the program really took me about 40 days to complete. So I took little extra bits of rest here and there. I was still able to hit all of my repetitions, and I'm proud to say that as a result of this program, I went from 12 repetitions in the pull-up, I actually hit 20 in my test. So that was an 8 rep PR. That was awesome. That's the most pull-ups I've ever done in one set. And that actually beats my prior PR where I was able to hit, I think I did 17 pull-ups at the Tactical Strength Challenge several years ago, and I actually weighed less than, I was about 165 versus now I'm about 179. So that's actually really cool. So I beat that prior PR by 3 reps while also weighing about 13 pounds more. So that's pretty cool. I felt very good about that. I ran one of my clients through this program. We did it for about a 6-week cycle, and again, we got him from 0 to 1 rep, and then we were doing sets of 1, and then starting off with went to 2, and then slowly creeping in doubles, and then working up to triples, and then we actually just tested his reps, and he just did 5, full range of motion reps, and I mean, just again checking off all the boxes like I taught you guys in the prior video. Pulling the shoulder blades down, activating the lats, the core, the lower body, exploding out of that position once the shoulders are set, getting that top position, and then slowly controlling the lowering. So fantastic reps. So shout out to my client Jack for just absolutely kicking ass and going from 0 to 5, which is awesome. So that's really, really fantastic. And what's amazing is once you get that first rep, your whole mindset and identity shift, because going from 0 to 1 can feel like an impossibility. But then once you get 1, the thought of 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or beyond becomes suddenly not only not scary, they're possible. They feel possible. And I love when that happens with my clients, and it's a wonderful feeling when that happens. So that was a little bit of a tangent, but still kind of related. So we'll let it roll in that regard. So this is a wonderful program, and I'm going to go ahead and link that article below so you guys can check it out. It's not even my article. I just think it's a wonderful resource. And if you want to try this program, I think it's wonderful. Make sure you have that prerequisite strength and mobility. Make sure we can get that arm up overhead, bicep touching the ear without having to bring that head over. Without pain, without having to flare the rib cage or anything like that. Make sure our shoulders are prepped for overhead work, and you've got the mobility, the strength, etc. Again, if you are not very comfortable with the pull-up, you're not sure where to get started, check out my video that I filmed before this for you on the 5 steps to your first pull-up. So check that video out. That's going to help give you that solid foundation, and then go through this program. I think it's fantastic. Give yourself the rest that you need. If you need extra days of rest, I think it's fine. Don't feel like you have to just like follow the program religiously like a soldier. Some people kind of need that. They need their, if you're more type A and you have to do all the reps, on the right day and all that. I totally get it. I've totally been there in the past. But listen, I'm a stay-at-home dad. I've got my own training business. I'm quite busy these days. I'm also a substitute teacher at my daughter's school. So, which by the way, I get plenty of exercise doing PE for them as well. We do a lot of fun games outside, running around. So on those days in particular, I tend to be a little bit more beat up. So I will give myself the rest. So rest is great. Don't beat yourself up over that, particularly if your joints start aching. Right at the end of the program, I found that my left shoulder in particular, was starting to feel just a little bit achy. I wouldn't go so far as to say it was pain, but it definitely, my body was letting me know that this is a good spot to end it, which is perfect timing. Right at the end, nothing, knock on wood, didn't tear anything, nothing hurt or anything, and I'm fine. I've been able to consistently now hit that, 15 to 17 reps in a set, which is cool. But I felt that little bit of kind of achiness in the shoulder, and I was definitely just getting more fried and fatigued from the sets. And look at how this breaks down. So 12, 10, 8, 6, 4 was day 1. Day 29, day 30, the last day of the program, was 17, 16, 16, 14, 11. So a massive jump, obviously, in the rep count. The top end sets are much higher, and there's still that drop off. But those first, that 17, 16, 16, that's a tough, it's a tough road. By the time I got to 11, truly, it was very challenging. I had to really take my time and rest a little, not resting in the hanging position, to really kind of get those last few reps out. But it was great. Wonderful results. Again, if you have healthy shoulders, you feel good, you're not in any kind of pain, you don't have any mobility restrictions, I would recommend a program like this for you. Now, that being said, cap it at the 30 days, or the 6 weeks. If you're stretching it out a little bit further, don't go beyond that. That's the time. After that point, you can go other routes. You can start doing higher volume sets, but I would say less of them, so that we don't accumulate too much fatigue and overuse and start really beating up your shoulders. You can get into weighted pull-ups. Get a weight belt. Strap that around your waist with a weight plate or a kettlebell or a dumbbell. Do some weights. Do some reps that way. turn it almost into like powerlifting where we're working in 3 to 5, rep sets. I've even thrown my daughter on my, on my back, piggyback style, kind of like, Luke Skywalker running around the woods with Yoda on his back. So that's a great way to do it. So there's many, many ways to go from there. So, but I highly recommend just check out the program, give it a go. If you have any questions, please comment below. Again, my goal here is to serve you, and I want to help you become your strongest self and have a little bit of fun along the way. So if I can answer any questions for you, please comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are. And until then, I'll catch you on the flip side.